Good morning again, everybody. My name is Shimon Hochbaum, and I will be presenting the EtherHaul 7XX series to you today as part of our launch of this new product on the US market only. Just a few words of housekeeping. You are all in a listen-only mode, sorry. However, if you have any questions, you can place these questions using the GoToWebinar question area, and I will be monitoring the questions along the call. If I can answer on a specific slide, I would be happy to do so. If not, we will have a Q&A session toward the end of the call today, where I will try to answer all of the questions. If time would not be enough, we will also publish a recording of this webinar, which will be also available for everybody who might not have been able to join today, as well as a written Q&A session with all the ones discussed here today, or the ones which would be submitted later. So again, welcome to this webinar, and let's start. So the agenda for today is very easy. We are going to talk a little bit about the EtherHaul 100 series, where these new models fit in. Then we are going to dive into the specifics of the 7XX series, and we will close with a Q&A session. However, if it's possible, I'd like to get a better view of who is on the call today, so that I can maybe tailor a little bit better the information. So I'm going to launch a poll for everybody, basically to let me know who is in who is in the audience. Are you a system integrator? Are you coming from the education? Are you a service provider, government, or a pure wireless service provider? Please try to let me know where you fit into this landscape, so that I can maybe tailor a little better the content. Thank you. Okay, I see that a good number of the responses are in. I'll wait a few more seconds for everybody to complete. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you, everybody. And now let's see what we have. So we have a good portion of our system integrator. We have some service provider, almost equal number of pure wireless and other service providers. Very good distribution. Thank you very much. So let's now start with the presentation itself. So I'm sure most of you are familiar by now with our EtherHaul 100 series, which cover a range of radios in the license-exempt V-band, the 60 GHz spectrum, or the lightly licensed E-band spectrum. As you may remember, all these products are TDD. They offer capacities in the range of up to 1 gigabit aggregated. And we have different antenna sizes mostly, and radio sizes, but mostly the antenna sizes, which together with some of the compact ones allow to install basically the link ends on in the street level, on a pole, or on rooftops and towers. And if we look a little more in details, we have the 500, the 600, 614 series, which are all V-band, compact form factor, as you can see here in the middle of the slide. And then bottom right, we have the 1200 TTX series, which in the US can be deployed with 1 foot and 2 feet antennas. All of them have Ethernet ports. Some of them are copper, some of them are also SFP. And what we are talking about specifically today is about the addition of the 7XX series, which is somewhere in between bridging or taking the best of the 600 with compact form factor, but now coming without an antenna, and will allow to take advantage of what can be done in the E-band spectrum. So let's go into the details of what the 7XX are. So first of all, they are probably the most compact E-band radio. It's a very small package, 6x6 if we want to remember the simplest of the, but you have the precise dimensions here on the chart. So it's a very small radio. You can see the antenna port here on the front of the radio, and the 3 ports for data that we are going to look more in detail in a moment. We have 2 models available. We have the 700TX and we have the 710TX. The 700TX starts with a base capacity of 100 meg and can be upgraded with a capacity license to 200. The 710TX is a slightly higher upgrade capacity-wise, and starts with 700 megabps and can go all the way to 1000. So that's equivalent in capacity to what the 1200TX can deliver, but in a more compact form factor. There is also a 710T variant where the hardware is upgraded again and can also has the support for timing synchronization for some mobile backhaul applications, basically. In terms of operations, the 7XX series are very much a part of the EtherHaul family, so they have the very familiar dual pane web GUI, which allows operation of a complete link from a single pane of glass on a single PC, just a web GUI. We have also options for CLI, for SNMP traps, for syslog reports, and the access to the radios can be controlled via Radius or TACAX if you have a centralized database for username passwords. In terms of some other key features, the 7XX series are powered with PoE-In. They need no more than 26 watts for their own work, if you want, for their own consumption. There is a built-in managed Ethernet switch with 3 gigabit Ethernet ports, basically the 3 ports that we see here on the bottom of the radio. And 2 of the ports, ETH2 and ETH3, so the middle and the right one, can deliver PoE power to connected devices. The connected device can be another 7XX series. It can be a Wi-Fi access point. It can be a camera. There are a number of options as long as the connected device supports standard PoE-Out up to 52 watt. We can power that device. The 7XX series have also an option for software upgrade to AES, so it's just a capacity license which can be loaded on the radio after it's purchased from your distributor or from Ciclo. And there are a number of other software options which are also available, such as Layer 2 operation and maintenance, which allows monitoring the quality of the service, the continuity of the service end-to-end when multiple radio links are chained together. There is the Extend feature, which allows basically backing up a millimeter wave extended reach link with an additional lower capacity different spectrum radio. And then we have the Syncy option for the 710 radio as well. So we talked about a choice of antennas. You can see here on the top a 7XX mounted on the 2-feet antenna. The total, with the 50 dBi gain of the antennas, the end-to-end system gain for the link is going to be 190 dB, which is comparable to the 1200 TX also. If one would go down to the 1-foot antenna, which is what you can see here on the bottom right picture, then the antenna gain is 43 dBi and the total system gain is 176 dB end-to-end. There is also a third option, which is a compact half-a-foot antenna, which aligns with the form factor of the radio itself. It will have a lower gain, 38 dBi, and this lower gain is not allowed per FCC regulation. So for those of you who work with customers in Latin America or outside of the US in general, that can be that third small antenna is an option. In terms of compatibility with the mounting kit, something to point out, the 1-foot antenna and the 7XX radios can be mounted with any of the quote-unquote 1-foot mounting kit of Cyclus, or the existing EH1 MK 1-foot, but also the newer AX MK 1-foot -B. What we see here on the picture is the EHMK 1-foot. In the case of the 2-feet antenna, the mounting kit basically is built with the antenna, and so there is no need to add a mounting kit with the antenna. However, what we do need to pay attention to is the fact that the 7XX series are quite small compared to the size of the antenna, so we need a combination of a mechanical and RF adapter, which is not part of the antenna itself. So if you want to do a deployment of the 7XX series with a 2-feet antenna, there is still the need to procure the mechanical and RF adapter. We are going to have a look at all this again, focusing on the part numbers, not just the pictures here. Okay. So looking now at part numbers and what is compatible in terms of options or mechanical accessories, etc. We have basically 3 new part numbers to make this lineup of the 7XX series. In terms of radios, we have 2 commonly used radios. As I said, there's a third one which is not here on the chart. But so we have the 700 TX Audio EXT, which is the part number for the 700 TX radio. Base capacity of 100 meg can be upgraded to 200, and there is the EH upgrade -100-200, which is the upgrade from 100 to 200. As let me see if I can use a highlighter here, laser pointer. Okay, so we have this radio, which is the 700TX audio EXT, 100 to 200, and that is the matching software upgrade for 100 to 200. We have the other radio model, which is the 710TX audio EXT, which has a base capacity of 700 megabit and can be upgraded to 1 full gigabit with the addition of this software upgrade, the EHUPG-700-1000. So I see only 2 part numbers so far. Then we have here some of the software, the most common software options and which radio can they be used with. So we have the layer 2 feature options, which can work with the 710TX. We have the encryption EH option -AES, which will work with both. We have the extend backup link feature option, which will probably work only with the 710TX. It can work also with the 700 radio, but we don't expect a lot of deployments where somebody would want to back up a 100 or 200 megabit radio with a sub-6 link, which will deliver basically the same capacity. We have the PoE-PAC option, which is needed when somebody would like to enable the PoE-Out feature on the radio. So the built-in Ethernet switch with the 3 ports works all the time, and it is always possible to connect 2 or 3 devices to the radio, depending on the network, the local configuration at the site. However, if you would want to deploy these devices, would want to power, these devices off the 7XX radio, the PoE-Out feature should be enabled, and that is done with the addition of the EHPoE-PSC feature license. And that is compatible with both radios. We talked about the antenna, so we have the 1-foot antenna, which is obviously going to work with both radios, and then we have the the mounting kit, the newer one, which we recommended for this 1-foot antenna. Then we have the option of the 2-foot antenna, which can also work with both radios. In that case, no mounting kit is necessary. However, we need the adapter, which is here, which is a combination of mechanical and RF adapter. And that is the part number here, X adapter -SFF small form factor -7080 GHz. There are also some other part numbers, such as the surge protector, which should be installed on every cable that goes back into the building, and also the 60-watt power. We have that is one of the options. We have other options. One which is a greener, which we launched a few months ago, which is rated for Department of Energy level 6, and we have also some 90-watt capable power supplies, which are going to be necessary if you want to take advantage of the full 52-watt of PoE-Out. But the chart could not just take all of these part numbers. Sorry about that. So that's all in terms of part numbers. Again, 2 new part numbers for the radios, 1 part number for the mechanical adapter of the 2-foot antenna. Any other part numbers which you are already used to work with, if it's an antenna, a mounting kit, a power supply, a surge protector, or the capacity licenses, all these you're already familiar. The part numbers are the same. We wanted to keep it simple. The prices are the same. Again, to keep it simple as well. In terms of support package, we have a lot of information which is available for everybody which has access to our partners portal, partner.ciclo.com. Just put in your user ID. If you don't have a user ID but however your company is already registered with Ciclo, it's very easy for you to do a self-registration and obtain a user ID on the spot. And you can obtain all of the information related to the 7XX by just putting in the keyword 700, 710, even 7XX on the search bar. And what you will get on our partners portal is obviously the datasheet, the installation manual, the user manual. We also have a more in-depth, detailed product description for the 700 series, which will provide a lot more information than what is available on the datasheet. In terms of support tools, we have the link budget calculator, which you can use already to calculate link performance with the 700 or the 710 radio. We have our EMS, which supports already monitoring and managing in general of all EtherHaul radio, including the 700 and the 710. And we have our wireless network design engine, Windy, which you can obviously use to design a network with these radios. So documentation, software tools, everything is available to support design and operation of networks with the 700 series. So now, if we look back at complete 100 series, and we have quite a choice of antennas, and quite a choice of radios, and it's very legitimate to ask us at Ciclo, what should be the recommendation? I mean, when should I use, which of these four models? Which one is going to work best for me? And I would say, first of all, there is no straightforward answer, but it's not very complicated. And on the one hand, this table here kind of highlights the differences, but basically by looking at these differences, it is quite easy to narrow down what is the best, if we want, a solution for a very specific application. So I'm going to try now and highlight these differences one by one. So first of all, some of the radios work in the E-band, some of the radios work in the V-band. So we have a difference in spectrum. What it really boils down to, if you do not want to register, where your links are deployed, because maybe you're a service provider and you don't necessarily want the competition to know where you are putting links, or if you are maybe a system integrator and again your customers for other types of reasons do not want to advertise where they utilize millimeter wave radios, then the obvious choice is going to be utilize the V-band. You have the 500, the 600, 614 TXs, which allows to go a little further, almost to the same performance as the 7XX series. However, on the other side, if you want the assurance that the E-band spectrum provides, in terms of a little more distance, a little more reliability, protection from anybody who would maybe try to operate at exactly the same channel that you would operate your V-band radios, then you probably want to register your radios, and you want to operate in the E-band and maybe get a little better performance at the same time. So E-band would be the recommendation. Then we still have, on each side of the equation, we still have two radios to decide. So I think the next, way to look at it is, how far do I want to go? Say the spectrum was not a decision factor, and now let's look at what other decision factors do we have. So we have now basically quite a difference in terms of performance, because the 1 foot, the 2 feet antenna basically bring a lot of gain to the system budget and allow the millimeter wave link to go quite farther than what is possible with the half a foot antenna of the 614 or the 600 or 500 radios. However, if distance is not again the main objective of that deployment, then we have to look really at maybe the details of the connectivity. Does the customer, does your network, call for a fiber termination, or do you need, or is on the contrary, do you want 3 gigabit Ethernet port, which are available, with the 7XX, the 614, or the 500 even? Or must you have a fiber port, or do you need to have even maybe 4 Ethernet ports? In which case, the 1200TX would be the radio of choice for that application. Maybe it's going to come down to power. If PoE is enough, then power is not going to be the deciding factor. But if DC power is a must, then again 1200TX would win the decision. On the other hand, maybe it's going to be PoE-Out that is going to be the deciding factor, in which case, unfortunately, the 1200TX can only deliver a total of 26 watt on a single port, whereas the other 3 radios can power, first of all, 2 devices and with a total power out of 52 watt. So, as you can see here, there are a number of decision points, spectrum type, distance, type of connectivity, power in and out. These are basically the main differences, and that would be the way to make the product selection. And it is maybe possible that actually there would be none of this would really matter. I just need a very simple application, half a mile, give me a few hundreds of megabit. I need 1 or 2 ports. I need power in. Nothing really very clear. Very middle of the road type of application. Then in that case, we still have to come up with a recommendation. And my recommendation here would be go with the 700 TX if it's just 100, 200 meg. If it's a little more, go with the 710 TX because this one will deliver up to 700 megabits, without software upgrade, or symmetric 500 with a software upgrade. So that's a good middle of the road solution, which delivers quite a solid amount of capacity with all of the features that you would need. 3 gigabit Ethernet port, PoE-Out for a number of devices. And if you would inquire with your distributors or where the prices lie for these different options, you will see that obviously 700TX has a little more, is a little pricier with its antenna than the 614, but it will offer also a better distance performance, so a better availability at the same distance than the 614TX. So again, that's our recommendation, but as I said, when you would look closer at the specific needs of each and every site and what needs to be done, you might have a different view of which way to go, maybe 614, maybe 1200TX, depending on the very specifics of each and every site. So I think we've by now covered most of the material, and I'd like to see if what we all remember here from this presentation. So I'd like to launch another poll and see basically what do you think are the key benefits of the or if you want the differentiating features of the 7XX series compared to the rest of the 100 series family. So if you compare to the 1200 TX or you compare to the 600 series, is the fact that we have an integrated switch, we have power over Ethernet, we can do rooftop installations, street level deployments, or the compact size. What are the features which you think are going to be the differentiation between the 7XX and the other ones in the family. So I see already a good amount of votes. I'm going to let the poll run for a few more seconds so that everybody has an opportunity to put their votes in. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. Let me see if I can now share the results for everybody's benefits. So basically we have everybody is looking at the 7XX, or most everybody, sorry, is looking at the 7XX as a compact size and extended reach combination. And we see also that power over Ethernet, rooftop installation, or street level deployment basically, all share the second rank for the interest of this radio. Thank you very much. So, I'd like to basically review where we stand now with the 100 series EtherHaul. So we have basically a choice of license exempt or lightly license models, with the V-band 500, 600, 614, or the E-band with the 700, 710, or the 1200 radios. We have a choice of options to deploy these radios at the street level, but in the US going to be mostly with the 614, 600, 500, but outside of the US, the 7XX series with the half-a-foot antenna can definitely be deployed down to the street. And all of the radios can be deployed obviously on the rooftops, depending on what you would like to do. We have a good choice, between 3 and 4 ports of Ethernet switch, copper or fiber options at the same time. All of the radios allow powering additional devices for daisy chain or for just delivering maybe Wi-Fi at a given location without running additional cables. And we have a range of options starting at 26 all the way to 52 watts. And all this can be delivered as far as 2.3 miles almost with the 2-foot antenna, down to half a mile if we look at the half-a-foot antenna and the V-band radio. So we cover with the 100 series cover also quite some distances with the all the way with the 2-foot antenna. 2-feet antenna, sorry. So I noticed there were a few questions, so it's good that we are coming up to the Q&A. Sorry that I could not answer to the questions as we were moving forward. So I'm going to try and cover all of them one by one. First question was about, why do we have radios at 700 megabit that we see sometime on the Cyclu product line? That's I'm not sure that I'm the most qualified person, but basically I'm joking here. The very first EtherHaul radios that Cyclu released could not operate faster than 700 megabit. And at some point in time, obviously there were some improvements in what all the technology can deliver, and basically the 1 gigabit capacity was also added. But in order to not confuse, I guess back in those days, with what were the older products and what were the newer ones, the 700 megabit kind of stayed as a kind of a demarcation between the lower capacity and the higher capacity. That's all just some very historical reason, and nothing really to say with the technology as it stands today. Questions about mounting kit, 600 series and 700 series mounting kit. So the 600 series always operate with the half-a-foot antenna, which even in strong winds, like 120, 150 miles per hour, we have it's not a lot of strength, a lot of pull on the mounting kit, and what we have we have a small mounting kit, the EHMK SM, SM for small, designed for the 600 series or for the half-a-foot antenna, basically, and that's what it can do. The 7XX series, even though it looks a little bit like the 600 series, always is going to be installed with a 1 foot or with the 2 feet antenna. Obviously, the 1 foot or the 2 feet antenna, again, when the strong winds will pick up 120, 150 miles per hour, are going to exert a lot more strength on the pole and on the mounting kit, and therefore we need a more resilient mounting kit to basically sustain the radio, to keep the radio in place, keep the alignment in place. So the 7XX basically will utilize the same mounting kit as the larger radios, the 1200, the 2500, the 8010 radios, with the 1 foot antenna. So the way to look at mounting kit is not necessarily look at the radio. The way to look at the mounting kit, the way to find the right mounting kit for an application is to look at the antenna size. 2 feet antenna comes with an integrated mounting kit, so it doesn't matter 7XX, 8010, the capacity doesn't matter, the size of the radio doesn't matter. The antenna basically drives the type of the mounting kit. In those countries where we can deploy a 7XX with a half-a-foot antenna, it will utilize the same mounting kit as the 600. Again, the EHMK SM. So that would be Latin America. That would be, we do some work in Europe where the 7XX can be deployed with the half-a-foot antenna, just like it can be deployed in Latin America. And in that case, the half-a-foot antenna will allow using the small mounting kit. That's really the way to look at it. The There's a question here about performance. Basically, the transmit, the receive power of the 7XX compared to the 1200. So the sensitivity and the transmit power of the 7XX are equivalent to what the 1200 TX can do. Again, so it's 7XX compares to 1200 TX, doesn't compare to 1200 FX. And therefore, with the same antennas, the link budget is going to be on the same. So 160 dBs, 160 dBs, which I showed earlier, is the link performance for a 1200 TX radio or for the 710 TX radio. It's going to be very similar performance. Obviously, the 1200F, the 2200F, the 2500, the 8010 all have better link budget. And if you want to compare for a given location, or if you want to validate for a given location what are your radio options, you can go. I think the best way to do it would be to go to the link budget calculator, select the nearest city to where the link is going to be deployed, and then you have the link budget calculator has the option of showing you for different radios at a set distance what each radio will deliver in terms of capacity or in terms of availability. So just one click and you basically would get all of the options, starting with the 500 TX all the way to the 8010, going through the 7XX series and the 2200, 2500. All of our product lines on one click for a set location and set distance. I see here another question about the radio ports. So I'm guessing that this is about the Ethernet ports on the radio. Hope I have the correct, I understand correctly what the question is about. So assuming that the question is about the Ethernet port, these are standard RJ45 ports. And basically, if you have some pre-connectorized Cat5e, UV rated, outdoor rated cables terminated with an RJ45, you can connect these without any special measures to our radio. If you like to crimp, your cable on site, again, run an outdoor UV rated cable to the radio. Any shielded RJ45 connector that you can crimp on that cable will fit into our radio, and the radio is provided with an all-weather shell, which basically will seal the cable to the radio. Any RJ40, any Cat5e cable, again UV rated, etc., can pass through our seal and basically will close very nicely to the radio, make sure that the radio and the cable termination will remain protected from the environment, sun, rain, sleet, whatever. The radio is rated to IP67 ingress protection or NEMA 4 if you prefer that other type of protection rating. As far as the radio port itself, if that is the question, sorry if I misunderstood. So the radio ports are designed to match any of the Siklu provided antenna. So the half-a-foot antenna, the 1-foot antenna will mount without any additional accessory. In the case of the 2-foot antenna, there is this special mechanical and RF adapter which needs to be added as well between the radio and the antenna, and we provide this adapter. There's a part number which I showed earlier for a very nominal fee. So I see here another question about if the 7XX and the 1200TX are so similar they operate in the same spectrum, they have the same radio performance, they utilize the same antennas. Can they interoperate? Can one have a link where the radio is 1200TX on one side and 710TX on the other side? And the answer is no. Even though basically the answer is no. I mean, you might see some the LED behavior, and maybe the GUI will show you that it seems to be working, but it's not all working. And we tried for a while to make this all work, and we could not. And we are very sorry, but no, it's not going to work. So that's if you have some 1200TX in your network and some 710TX, in your network, you cannot mix and match on the same link, and they need to stay, bookend the same type of radio. So 1200 to 1200, 7XX to 7XX. I see here a question about the mounting hardware to the pole. So again, these are all the time the standard, the existing mounting kits that we provide. If you work outside of the US with the half-a-foot antenna, we have the existing EHMK SM, which has been utilized already for a long time for the 600 series, is a possible choice. If you have the 1-foot antenna, then the same mounting kit that you would use for any other EtherHaul radio with a 1-foot antenna, so the EHMK 1-foot, or the or the newer AXMK 1-foot mounting kits are option. With the 2-foot antenna, the mounting kit comes with the antenna, and there is nothing that needs to be acquired to mount on the pole. As long as the poles are 2 inch to 4 inches, any of our mounting kit will work. No challenge there. Well, I see that there are no more questions. It was a good roundup here. So I'm going to close by thanking everybody who took the time to listen to our newest product can do, the 7XX series. And I hope to see you all very soon on some of our next webinars. Have a very good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.